With the holiday season now officially in gear, it's time to make a list of all the important people in your lives and get them a gift. For some people like your aunts and uncles, you now only see at weddings and funerals, a gift basket is a good choice, while your spouse requires deep thought and creative thinking. But if you're a law-abiding citizen, then the odds are good that you don't need to pick up anything for a mafia boss. Mafia bosses tend to have unique and expensive tastes that they expect their men to know and accommodate. An expensive bottle of liquor is usually a safe gift to give, but sometimes out-of-the-box thinking is needed, and when the wrong choice was made, at best the underling lost a lucrative racket, and at worst, he paid for it with his life. But this can also go both ways, as an ungrateful gift receiver creates the kind of resentment that breeds subversion in his ranks. Here are 10 short stories of mafia gifts that backfired for their giver. Cash is always a safe and good gift to give someone, but some receivers tend to be a little on the greedy side. If you give them less than you had in a previous year, they notice, and if they're really indignant, they will say something. That's the kind of man that Paul Castellano was. One year, Capo regime Joe Armoni gave him an envelope full of cash that Castellano felt was light. Rather than appreciate the gesture, he told Armoni to his face that he felt insulted, and Armoni was embarrassed. After this, Armoni felt isolated and boxed in by Castellano with no hope of advancing higher into the family's leadership. Years later, in 1985, Armoni became part of John Gotti's conspiracy to kill the boss. An act that he might not have embarked on had Big Paul been nicer to him. Paul Castellano was a man who was killed by members of his family that found him both greedy and disrespectful. One Christmas, Sammy the Bull Gravano went out of his way to get the Gambino family boss an expensive custom knife, presumably to put on display as a decoration in his office. It was a calculated act of brown-nosing, as he figured that every time the boss looked at the gift on display, he would remember his outstanding young soldier. But to his dismay, when Big Paul opened his present, he frowned and said to Sammy, "What am I supposed to do with this? I don't use knives." Sammy said it felt like being slapped in the face. Soon after, he joined John Gotti in his conspiracy to murder the ungrateful Big Paul Castellano. Of course, not every boss who humiliated someone under them because they gave what they thought was a bad gift got killed by their resentful underlings. John Gotti is a perfect example. Soldier Anthony Rampino gave Gotti a thick gold chain as a Christmas gift, but the Dapper Don thought it looked sleazy, like something a pimp would wear. And so he said, in front of everyone, that he was not going to wear it, and then he made Rampino wear it instead to humiliate the man further. But after that incident, that was where the matter ended. When buying a gift for someone, you should always try to put yourself in their head and think about what they like instead of what you'd like to get for yourself. Genovese family boss Vincent Gigante was known to collect wooden statues of religious Catholic figures, and it was a go-to gift for those trying to impress their leader. But when he was younger and just a soldier in the family, he purchased one of these statues for then-boss Vito Genovese because he figured that if he liked them, then other people probably liked them too. When Don Vito opened the box and realized what it was, he grimaced and gave it back to the younger man saying, "What am I? A priest. Bring me something I can use." Vito Genovese, Paul Castellano, and John Gotti were all very direct when they got a gift they didn't like. In contrast, Carlo Gambino was much more subtle in how he dealt with gifts he found disrespectful, which reflects what his management style was like in general. On one occasion, in either the late 50s or early 60s, a soldier gave the boss an envelope that had less cash than it was supposed to. When Carlo looked at it, he remarked that it was less than he was told, and the matter seemed to end there, although it felt like a deadly threat. The soldier wasn't killed, but he was removed from a couple money-making positions as a penalty. For most people, alcohol is usually a simple gift that will be appreciated, but if you're buying a bottle for someone powerful, then make sure it's the good stuff. Jack Cerrone of the Chicago outfit learned this the hard way in his youth when he gave boss Tony Accardo a bottle of lower-shelf whiskey. Accardo declined the bottle and told Cerrone to go give it to someone who drinks that brand. If your boss is known to have a short temper, then it's best to be extra careful with not only what you give, but also where you get it. For mob guys in the 1970s, a lot of their luxury goods didn't come from the store. Instead, they were robbed off the truck that was delivering them there. So, when you were buying something from another guy in the life, the odds were pretty good that you were getting the real thing at a steep discount. But it wasn't a guarantee. One unfortunate associate gave a Swiss watch to Carmine Galante. When Galante took a closer look at it, he believed it to be a fake, and he smashed it there on the spot, while being angry at being disrespected by being given a fugazi. Quality items are not just limited to alcohol and luxury goods, but for some unique items, function is better than style. One example is when a Philadelphia crime family soldier gave Nico Scarfo a silver-plated pistol for Christmas. For most people, the value of this item is in the material it's made from. But Scarfo did not care that it was pretty. To him, it was a lousy gun in terms of function. He returned it to the soldier, telling the man what he really thought. Sometimes a boss needs to clarify his status to those under him by not accepting something that does not meet his standards. But there are nice ways to do it, like when Philadelphia crime family consigliere Frank Sidone gave boss Angelo Bruno a box of cigars that were not Cubans. Bruno politely told Sidone that those were not the ones he smoked. For a guy who was called the Gentle Don, that was a reprimand. And finally, when giving someone a gift, it's best to be aware of any superstitions they might have. In this short story, a bookmaking associate of the Lucchese family gave boss Tommy Lucchese a high-quality and expensive leather wallet. The boss liked it, but he had a big problem after he opened it. It was empty. Lucchese believed that when gifting someone a wallet, there should be at least $1 in there. For him, giving someone an empty wallet was a symbol of bad luck, as it would result in the person being poor. It's unclear if he returned it. Remember these anecdotes for when you're giving or receiving gifts, and always remember to be gracious with the people in your life.